The soldier, whoever he was not just incredibly good-looking, he was tall, even for a Highlander. She wondered just where her own lanky form would come up to him. His chin? His shoulder? Probably the latter. She could just imagine fitting perfectly against his warmth as he held her tightly to his side. It had been a long time since she had been held by a man, but that did not mean she had completely forgotten what it was like. Nothing was better at making her long-legged, curvy body feel feminine and attractive than lying against something large and hard. And next to that man, Adanel blew out the breath she had been holding. Lying next to him, she would feel practically dainty. Unfortunately, that was something she would never know. Lord, why did he have to be the best-looking soldier she had seen in years, perhaps ever? Movement across the loch snapped her thoughts from daydreams back to reality. The soldier was bringing his horse closer to the water, and therefore closer to her. Worse, she was unable to see where he was going without revealing her current position. Adanel knew she should take the opportunity to sneak away to the shoreline on her side of the loch, but instead she stretched her neck, hoping to continue her gawking. Nestled high within the Torridon Hills, next to a massive cliff, the saddle-shaped loch was very small compared to most in the region. One end of the shoreline was comprised of near vertical cliffs from a decades-old landslide, making the water inaccessible as well as frigid from being constantly shaded from the sun's warmth. Only the northern tip of the loch, which was divided into two sections, was free of debris and accessible to trespassing swimmers and mysterious soldiers. On the side Adanel had traversed to access the loch, varying-sized boulders were scattered along the water's edge. Swimming approximately 20 horse lengths directly across the very large boulder Adanel was crouching behind, one could reach the small loch's only other accessible shoreline. That stretch contained fewer rocks and multiple large patches of grass. Until now, Adanel had no idea there was even a path up to the loch via that side. She had thought her narrow, rocky route up to the hidden loch was the only one, but obviously there was another, much larger path that could accommodate a horse rather than the difficult one she climbed up every week. Adanel froze when the man suddenly turned and stared intently in her direction, as if he could sense he was not alone. The only way he could see her was if he knew exactly where to look, and while he was looking in her direction, it was not directly at her. Forcing herself to relax, Adanel ducked back down and glanced over her shoulder to see if he might be spying her clothes. Had she left them in the open where he could see them? Adanel did not think so. She had been coming to the loch whenever possible for over a year now, and after one unfortunate afternoon where a bird's waist found her blio while she had been swimming, Adanel had been careful to fold all her garments and store them safely under a small ledge. Unfortunately, while that blocked a bird's view of them, it might not from an observer across the loch. As silently as possible, Adanel swam back a couple feet, being careful to remain in the shadow of the boulder so she could check. Upon seeing nothing but grey jagged rocks being lapped by the water, she relaxed and slowly released the breath she had been holding before returning back to the boulder. As far as she could tell, she had left nothing near the shore to indicate another presence. So why did he continue to look her way? A ripple of the water? Was there a shadow she did not realize she was casting? Tension rose in her again as her mind raced. It only eased when the Highlander shifted his gaze to study the rest of his surroundings. Adanel lay her forehead on the boulder and chastised herself for reading into things and leaping to conclusions instead of just enjoying the view. She craned her neck once more to take a final look. Now that he was off his horse and standing on the water's edge, he was close enough to make out many more details. Mushed, the man was fine. He had chiseled cheekbones, a strong shaven chin, and thick hair that was too dark to be blonde and yet too light to be truly brown. He was too far to actually see the colour of his eyes, but with his bone structure, Adanel knew he also had to have dreamy eyes and deep dimples that could snatch a woman's free will with just a glimmer.